Good morning, and welcome to a special emergency edition of Green Signals, which we decided we'd record following the shock news that came overnight, or which we'd woken up to this morning, that Secretary of State for Transport Louise Haigh has resigned. With incredible speed, Sky News put some allegations to her and the Prime Minister last night, and seemingly within a couple of hours, she'd gone. Now, she's been in trouble before over some comments about P&O and the way they handle their workers, but seem to have weathered that storm. And then all this seems to have blown up over a mugging and a mobile phone. Richard, what's your understanding?
Well, at the moment, we can obviously only go on what's in the press. But the story seems to be that in 2013, she was mugged on, I think, on a night out.
When she was 23?
Yeah. She thought she'd had her phone taken. It subsequently turned out that that was not correct. And she said, look, it was a genuine mistake.
Left it at home.
She'd reported it to the police what she believed had been taken. But then I think it was switched on, and that triggered, hang on a minute, this phone looks like it's still around. And when she was taken in when she was questioned, she says her solicitor at the time advised her not to comment during the first interview, which she now says, she was a mistake. Now, the interesting thing about this, Nigel, I mean, there may be more of that will come out in due course. The interesting thing is, she says, and it's not been argued by anybody, that when she joined the shadow cabinet, this issue was disclosed.
Yeah.
Right. Because now it's kind of a spent.
It's off the record. It's gone.
Yeah. So she disclosed the fact that it had happened, and so that was known. And that was known. If it's 2015, that's been known for 9 years. So the interesting question is, I know
why now?
You're a journalist of many years' experience. It's not what or when or who, it's why.
And why now?
And why now? Why now? Is it just one of those things,
Nah.
But
I'm afraid I don't believe in coincidences like this, Richard. My instinct is somebody's put the boot in for her.
Well, yeah, it does. It's curious, isn't it? The timing is the most intriguing thing about this. So the issue itself does sound like somebody who had a genuinely terrifying experience, made a mistake, accepted she'd made a mistake, has kind of apologized for that. It's been spent. She has disclosed it. And then now we have this. So, that appears to be what we know so far. There may be more to come.
But it's the speed with which it's come up, and rather than attempt to weather the storm, sort of thrown in the towel immediately. All sorts of questions go through my mind. And as well, I don't know whether you saw the single paragraph, I think it was, acknowledgement from Keir Starmer was quite cool. It wasn't a particularly warm thing, and seems to have accepted a resignation straight away. You wonder what else is going on in the background. And is there more to this story that they are genuinely worried is going to come out? There was Chris Mason, the BBC's much respected Radio 4 political editor, made a comment this morning that there was a single line in the Times report about other phones going missing on a repeated basis. And you think, what, this is just... Doubtless we'll find out more, but I can't help thinking there's more to this story. I do think it's bad news for the railway. I think her judgment has been a bit off on occasions, but I like her a lot, and I think her instincts were right. But what is it going to... Look, Richard, you're an experienced, seasoned Whitehall and government operator. You've been there and seen it and done it. What happens behind the scenes in circumstances like this? And is this stuff likely to work its way through over the next days and weeks? What's it mean inside?
Well, in one respect, the beauty of government in this country is it actually is quite a seamless thing. So, I remember when, I was appointed by Stephen Byers, and then Stephen Byers, obviously,
oh yes,
he had to fall on his sword. Alistair Darling was appointed, and the civil servants. We sometimes knock them on this show, but they do have this ability to sort of
Move on.
move from A to B in a very sort of choreographed and really rather, it's a non-disruptive process in a way. So that bit's quite
But that's
good.
their
That's
job,
actually,
isn't it? That's
it's a job.
that
And
seamless transition is what the
Yeah.
civil service is for.
and they do it very well, right?
Yeah.
So that process is, you see with change of government, and the same will happen here. However, when you peel the onion layers back, I think it's more. I think there are some people who will now be going, hang on a minute. Either she appointed me, or she trusted me, or I had her ear, who might now be going, I'm back to square one. What does this now mean for the next phase of this? So people like Laura Schoaf, who's the
Oh, yes.
the
New
interim
chairman.
chair of Shadow GBR. What does that mean? So that's an interesting one. Alex Hines clearly had, I think it's fairly clear, he had her ear. Will he still be in the same position with the next person? There's all of that goes on, and so there's some sort of there's issue. I mean, it happened to me. I mean, I remember chatting with John Armitt when Steve Byers went and Alistair Darling came in. He thought, well, this guy effectively appointed both of us. What's the new guy going to think? So that'll all be happening, and I think it'll be a while. Well, obviously we've got to know who it is first
before it works through.
But it'll be a while before some of that works through. So that's on a kind of very personal basis for some people. What it means for the agenda of the department, that's a different matter and a worrying one.
On that subject, I've never been one for conspiracy theories. It's always cock up rather conspiracy normally, but I can't help wondering. I mean, Louise's move fast and fix things was clearly causing ripples within the DFT about the speed with which that she wanted to move. We saw the comments that Bernadette Kelly made at the Transport Select Committee on that intervention that you and I both talked about. I mean, is it possible, I can't believe I'm about to ask this, that the civil service has been out together, that she's just trying to do too much too quickly and we don't want this, and she's trying to take power away from us? You comment about what Rowland's thought and all the rest of it.
Oh, there's no question that in 2004 that a number of that the attacks were coming from all sides.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Look, I think the issue with it, I think it's almost too soon.
Okay.
Right, to really have established what the agendas and positions were going to be. I mean, she was only Secretary of State for basically 4 months, right? And I think the sad thing is, some people say, well, how will she be remembered? And the answer from a transport point of view is probably not very much, because in the end, it'll move on quickly and somebody else will come in.
She didn't have the time.
And that'll be the reality. So I'm not sure people quite mobilized that way, but I think the reason this has happened is for something else, right? So, and you make that comment about P&O, and who knows? Who knows?
Is it the number 10 machine? Never forgave her for that. It's said that her and Starmer aren't close.
Well, I mean, the P&O comment was I think a not the best thing to have said, but the problem is, I suspect quite a lot of people out there thought she made a fair point.
Yes.
So you don't want to get rid of somebody. You don't want someone to go on a matter of principle where a lot of people agree with them. Whereas on this, it's probably a slightly different matter. So who knows? But look, I think in terms of the agenda for transport, the one thing I would say about Louise Haigh is, whatever you think of her politics and whatever you think of her, occasionally quite strident views on things, she had a genuine passion for wanting public transport to be better. And this move fast and fix things was actually quite a good line. I mean, I think in some respects she didn't move
fast enough,
decisively
or fix enough,
right, with Shadow GBR. And we may come back to that in a second. But I think she had a genuine passion. And it's not often in transport you get a Secretary of State who actually really believes and is committed. We've had so many who went, oh, have I got that job? Really? she wasn't like that.
No.
And so that's why I think we're in a dangerous moment.
I worked with, or had contacts with on a regular basis, and knew well 14 Secretaries of State for Transport, and there were 3. Actually, Byers could be said to be one. He was, however it ended. But the 3 that stick in my mind are Andrew Adonis, whether you agree with a lot of you said he had real burning passion for it, and he got HS2 on the go. Patrick McLaughlin, as you said in a recent Green Signals, and Louise. And I'm sorry she's gone. I think her judgment was a bit ropey on occasions, as is evidenced by the P&O comment. And that rather silly comment she made recently about she's not a man with a model railway in the attic, which I thought was a bit daft, given she's got a minister with a bus in his garage. He is entirely as enthusiastic about and the idea that being enthusiastic about your subject is somehow something to be sniggered at, I think is bad news. But, hey,
Yeah, well, we've all done it, haven't we? I mean, I've if I'd listed the number of times I succumbed to foot and mouth disease at the SRA, then I kept you busy in terms of writing comments. That's for sure, and I certainly kept Christian Woolmar equally busy, sort of disagreeing with me. So look,
and when it wasn't you, it was Kerry.
Well, that is also true. Kerry Evans, my actually very sad late communications director of the SRA, who was actually a really great guy, but he certainly could sort of stir at the hornet's nest, couldn't he? Look, I think that this is... I would agree with your assessment of the Secretary of State. I might just add Alistair Darling to it. I thought Alistair actually had an awful lot of... He wasn't everybody's cup of tea he was quite a, but he was he cared, and he was very good. I just think now we're in the next. I don't know how long this will take. 24 hours. Who knows?
And who's it going to be?
And I think there'll be we won't know what they think for a little while. But I think this is a period where we kind of go, how are we going down the pecking order? I think she clearly got on quite well with Rachel Reeves, and getting on well with the Treasury in a minor spending department, which transport is really, when you compare it to the big ones, is so important. It's so important.
We didn't need this, did we?
It's from a entirely selfish point of view. No, it's really unhelpful timing. I mean, look, before we sort of say everything was marvelous, I still do think the point about move fast and fix things was good in some respects, not in others. To my dying day, I still think not appointing a CEO,
I know where you're going,
CEO of Shadow GBR, to start the leadership process, not doing that, and instead relying on this sort of triumvirate partnership, I think that was a mistake. And I think, actually, her instincts were to do something like that 6 months ago. I think she's been badly advised since. That's my instinct, right? I don't know.
I think that sounds right. I just wonder who's been advising her on stuff, because some of the stuff that she said has not been great. But I think her instincts were right, and I liked her, even though I never met her.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry she's gone. And I just have that... My radar is telling me that she was badly done by... Somebody's put the boot in here. Somebody's knifed her quietly from the shadows.
I'm sure you're right. We have to look forward now, though, because it's amazing in these worlds how quickly the waters are just like...
The king is dead, long live the king.
Indeed. And so it's what comes next that's really
we can't really, I suppose, speculate too much about who's going to be doing that job. I doubt if it'll be one of the existing ministerial team. Doesn't seem likely, but you just never know. But
I've got one confident prediction.
Go on.
It's neither you nor me. Other than that, I would say that we could get a surprise here. Who knows?
So you're not going to have one of those incidents like those classic joke where one of the kids or Madeline says, you mentioned Keir Starmer, and you say, "Oh yes, that was who phoned you."
No, that's not going to happen, I can assure you.
But what's it mean for GBR, especially when it hasn't got a single leader to say, right, come on, troops, this is what we're going to do. We carry on with what we're doing. Forget what's going on on the fifth floor. We're going to make the trains run better.
I think that's I think that's the worry. That's why I would have pointed a CEO. And if I'd have been Lewis, said, right, I'm going to worry about policy. I'm going to worry about the big political stuff. You sort out day-to-day performance and get the cancellation numbers down and start getting it. And that, I think, would have been the right thing to do anyway.
But is there an opportunity then for either Alex Hines or Robin Gisby to step forward and say, right, let's just do this?
I think it's very risky because they'll want to know what the attitude and mind of the new Secretary of State is before, that's quite a big call. I think ironically, I think they could have done it with Lou. I'm not so sure now. So we'll see. Look,
all right.
It's for GBI. In answer to your question, I think it's a time of uncertainty. There's a rail bill to get through Parliament. That's inevitably going to need the stamp of an incoming person. We know what the civil servants think because Bernadette said it at the Transport Select Committee. It was
big job, and we've got to take our time.
Yeah. So it now really does depend on the energy and drive and vision of whoever comes in next.
And I guess that's about as much as we can say, isn't it, Richard? Louise, we're sorry you've gone, that you never made it to an interview with us. We thought you had the right... Well, not
a Secretary of State. Who knows what may come in the future?
Well, yes, indeed, I'm speaking too soon, aren't I? Maybe a valedictory interview. Louise, if you want to do it, you know where we are. But
absolutely.
I think I speak for you as well, Richard, when I say we think your instincts were right. And I think we're sorry she's gone, aren't we?
I am. Yeah. I am. But as you said... Now it's all about what comes next. That's where our focus has got to be. Yeah.
Okie dokie. And so I think we better hit it on the head there, although we could chivvy away all day on various aspects of this, couldn't we? So thanks for tuning into this special broadcast. We shall be picking it up in the next show, as ever, when we know more about it. And you can rest assured our fingers will be firmly on the pulse. But until then, this is it's Friday today. It's the 29th of November. So if you're watching on that day on our emergency broadcast, have a great weekend. So it's goodbye from me, and
it's goodbye from me.
Thanks for tuning in.